Hey everyone, welcome back to Corporate Decoder, the place where we try to make sense of the business world, one confusing document at a time. Today we're diving into an 8K filing from OSR Holdings. Get ready for a roller coaster of deals, ownership changes, and maybe a few head-scratching moments, because this one is a real corporate shuffle. OSR Holdings just announced a big change. They've completed a business combination, basically a merger, with another company called OSR Holdings Co. Limited. This is a pretty big deal as it changes who owns what and how the company will operate. It's like two puzzle pieces fitting together, or sometimes more like two companies trying to figure out which piece goes where. This merger happened on February 14, 2025. From what I can see, OSR Holdings, which used to be called Bellevue Life Sciences Acquisition Corp., is now combining with OSR Holdings Co. Limited, which is from Korea. This combination was under a deal they made in May of 2024, but later changed in December of 2024. To make this happen, OSR Holdings issued over 16 million shares of their stock to certain OSR stockholders. In return, these stockholders gave their shares of OSR stock to OSR Holdings. After all this happened, OSR Holdings now controls about 67% of OSR stock. Some of the other OSR stockholders, around 22% of them, will keep their shares for now. These stockholders have a deal where they can, at some point, force OSR Holdings to buy their shares. OSR Holdings also has the right to force them to sell. Think of it like a future option to buy or sell, depending on who wants to make the move. The big day for making this move is in January of 2026. As of the closing date of the merger, someone named Kuk Hyun Hwang controls about 67% of OSR Holdings stock. That gives him a big say in what goes on at the company. To understand what the deal means, it's worth checking out their official statement with the SEC. If you want to know all the nitty-gritty details, that's where to find them. Before the merger, OSR Holdings made deals with certain stockholders, called participating joinders. OSR Holdings gave these stockholders over 16 million shares in return for around 67% of OSR's existing stock. Think of this as trading one stock for another to finalize the merger. These participating stockholders agreed to follow the merger agreement with all the responsibilities and agreements that came with it. It's as if they signed up to the whole deal from the very beginning. Participating joinders also provided assurances called warranties from these stockholders, and it includes promises and releases of claims, basically clearing the table for OSR Holdings and other involved parties, releasing them of prior responsibilities. OSR Holdings also entered into non-participating joinders. These stockholders also became a part of the business combination, having the same responsibilities but not trading their stocks right now. These also got assurances but also include the right to sell or have the company buy their shares at a later date. It has custom rules for the non-participating stockholders. Some big stockholders can't just sell their shares right away. They've agreed to what's called a lockup, where they are restricted from selling their shares for a certain period of time. These restrictions apply to certain stockholders like Bellevue Capital Management, BCM Europe AG, and a couple of individuals, which are restricted from selling their shares in a certain period of time. For some, the restrictions are until January 1, 2026. For others, it's for 3 years after the closing of the merger. Because the merger is now complete, OSR Holdings isn't a shell company anymore, meaning it now has real business operations. All that's left is to provide the SEC with details about the new company as it now exists. This report includes some guesses about the future called forward-looking statements. They use words like believes, expects, and plans. But just so you know, these are just predictions and things might turn out differently. A bunch of things could throw off OSR Holdings. I'm talking changes in laws, the ability to keep their stock listed, and the risk of losing key employees. They also need to manage their growth and avoid getting into legal trouble. There are many risks involved with OSR's business, and you can read about these risks in their official filings. A good portion is detailed in the company risks. If you are interested in the financial status of the company, there are multiple different sections of the filing. There is an important section where they discuss how COVID-19 and general market conditions impact their business. The company notes in the SEC filing that the business was generally not affected by COVID-19 market conditions. The company's financial statements have been reviewed by an accounting firm. The company has provided all the appropriate reporting for this type of form. The SEC report has a section that includes a general description of the properties that the company owns or in which they have interests. Here's the deal on who owns OSR Holdings. This is a look at who controls the company, important for understanding where the power lies. This is a list of the big players like Kakao H. Wang, who owns a huge chunk of the company. Also named here are the people who are in charge and where they live. And the share amounts in this section are the shares that people actually own, with the shares that can be acquired or that someone has a stake in. After the business combination, a new set of leaders stepped in. The company will now be ran by a new board. This is an important part of the report. The SEC filing includes a discussion on the amount and how the executives were paid. There are no specific values given in this section. The stockholders approved something called the 2025 Omnibus Incentive Plan. I could go deeper, but really, it's a way to give employees stock options and other rewards to keep them motivated. No funny business here. The company's executives aren't sitting on each other's compensation committees, which helps avoid conflicts of interest. Who is and isn't independent on the board? This helps to have an idea of who is not tied to the company so that decisions are made without bias. Legal trouble, any lawsuits the company's involved in, turns out there is nothing major in this report. The company does not intend to pay any dividends on the shares of stocks. The company wants to hold on to any earnings to grow the business instead. If you want to learn more about the stocks and bonds and how they operate, check out the report's official section. There is also an insurance for the people running the company in case there are lawsuits. It's called indemnification. This section notes any changes to the rights of the stock owners. There are no specifics here. The closing of the deal has finalized changes in control of the business. The people who are in charge of the company have had changes in their positions in the company after the business combination, which we read earlier. The company has new bylaws now. If you want to read them, they are in another exhibit. The company is not longer a shell company. And that's a wrap on this 8K filing. So what's my take on OSR Holdings? Well, the company's direction seems very clear: expansion. With the business combination now complete, they've significantly increased their control over OSR, and the lockup agreements suggest a long-term commitment from key investors. It shows they are in it for the long haul. However, the reliance on a small group of stockholders and key employees presents a potential weakness. It also makes the direction the company is going forward difficult. Overall, OSR Holdings seems to be positioning itself for future growth. The path they've chosen involves some risks, but it also presents a clear opportunity to solidify their position in the market. I can't value the company because there are no numbers, but the general sense seems good. Thanks for watching. If you found this helpful or interesting, please subscribe, like, and leave a comment below. Until next time, keep decoding.